5 common mistakes for product displays. Product sales are one of the easiest ways to increase your revenue per patient, but doctors and staff members are often hesitant to sell and display products because they don't want their office to be too salesy. The funny thing is people are usually buying their products somewhere, meaning they want the desired benefits. Maybe they're just going to their local CVS or a high-end department store, or even their friend from high school who's trying to sell them products on Facebook. What this should tell you is that people want results. They need products and they're willing to buy, but they're going other places to find it instead of to you, the expert. Why? What are practices doing wrong when it comes to displaying their products and talking about their products to their patients? Well, we're going to tackle that first problem today. Here are the 5 mistakes that I see when it comes to product displays in offices. If you change these mistakes, you're guaranteed to sell more products and not seem salesy. Mistake number 1 is displaying too many options. You may have heard of this concept before. It's similar to the idea of decision fatigue or analysis paralysis, but it's the idea that too many options can often lead us to indecision. One of the most famous marketing studies is known as the JAM study. It was done by a management professor at Columbia University and a psychology professor at Stanford. This was the first empirical evidence of the downside of excessive options in consumer behavior. In this study, they had a different number of jams displayed and then analyzed how the number of jams displayed at the supermarket affected the likelihood that somebody would make a purchase. The experiment revealed that people are 10 times more likely to make a purchase when they choose among 6 options rather than 24. I know you're probably thinking, well, I have way more than 6 products to display. Don't worry, I have a way you can get around this, and it ties to my next point. Mistake number 2 is relying on brand names rather than product benefit or type. Offices often put all the same brands together, but the average person isn't brand loyal and probably doesn't even know which brands are best. What consumers care about are the results, what the product can do for them. For example, I might be interested in anti-aging products or products that can help prevent acne. I'm looking for the results the product can bring me, not the brand. What I suggest is that you categorize your display by result or type rather than grouping all of your products together by brand name. You might have an anti-aging section with your top picks for anti-aging, and you might have a section of daily cleansers with your top picks there. I recommend that you stick with a maximum of 6 options for each category. By creating these categories, it allows you to display more options without overwhelming your patients too much. Remember to be selective with what you choose to display. You don't have to display everything a rep gives you. Mistake number 3 is having brochures everywhere, ready for patients to grab for some leisure reading. Not so much. Here's the thing. Brochures displayed in waiting rooms and treatment rooms are counterproductive for several reasons. One is it takes up space and it looks cluttered. Every time I see this, it's messy and impersonal. 2 is people are usually on their phones. They aren't browsing the reading material that you have displayed. Now, maybe back in the day before cell phones, I was so bored that I wanted to read about 20 random products, but now people are likely on their phones or they're reading a magazine if they need a change of pace. And 3 is it looks salesy. You're so worried about sounding salesy to your patients, but you don't seem to be afraid of putting cheesy sales material all over your office. Am I saying don't ever have brochures in your office? Absolutely not. They have a purpose. It's just not to clutter up your space. Keep your brochures somewhere organized out of sight of the patient where your team can access them easily. If your patient is a candidate for a specific treatment or product or procedure, then you can find that brochure, show it to your patient, and say something like, "You mentioned that you're looking for anti-aging cream. This is my favorite. You can see some before and after pictures here. That is 100 times more effective than a bunch of random brochures sitting out, right? The fourth mistake is the location of the display. Now, the location seems obvious, but I've seen several product displays that are behind the checkout counter or tucked in a corner out of reach of the patient. If I'm a patient interested in your products, I need to be able to look at them closely, touch your products, read the labels. Make sure your patients can reach your products and they're located where your patient's actually waiting and has time to browse. Maybe this is your treatment room, or by the checkout counter, or in your reception area. It actually doesn't hurt to have them located in a few different places. In marketing and sales, we have what's called the rule of 7. And this is the idea that a person has to see or hear about a product 7 times before they're ready to buy. Now, you don't need 7 full product displays, but I bring this up because it doesn't hurt to have more than one. The fifth mistake is the appearance of your display. I'll talk more about this in a later video, but the visual appearance of your office and your product display, it's more important than you may think. Companies spend millions of dollars on packaging because they understand that the look of a product can have a huge effect on consumer behavior. In fact, a study was done by the Cheskin Company to compare 2 brands of alcohol. The leading brand of alcohol was actually losing market share, and they wanted to understand why. They ran 3 experiments, one to test the taste, one to test the brand, and one to test the packaging. First, they conducted the blind taste test, and the 2 products came out with basically the same results. Next, they tested how the brand names affected consumer preference, and consumers more often chose the alcohol with the stronger, more popular brand name. But then, in the 3rd experiment, they placed the actual bottle in the room with the subjects as they tasted the alcohol. And in this instance, the majority of the subjects chose the alcohol with the better looking bottle, which happened to be the opposite of the stronger brand name. So here was the conundrum. The leading brand of alcohol was losing market share, and even though it was similar in taste and stronger in brand, it was losing sales to their competitor. And what this showed was that the packaging was having the biggest effect on their sales and affecting consumer behavior. The company then ended up changing how their bottle looked and made it more appealing, and their sales grew significantly. They didn't change the taste, they didn't change the name, they simply changed how it looked. So, check your product display. Is it clean? Is it well lit? Is it organized? If your patient's looking to buy a $60 product or a $160 product, but the tester is dirty with a crumbling label, which I've seen this a lot, it's not the best impression. Now, to make these changes to your product displays, I made this easy to delegate. You have access to a free worksheet with these 5 tips. I suggest you print this out, give it to your marketing director or someone in your office that can make these adjustments for you. I guarantee if you implement these strategies, you'll be on your way to selling more products without being salesy.